Have you ever wondered what nuns look like under their robes? Well, if you have, you're a pretty sick individual, and you need help. But this young girl found out the hard way. A young girl ran through the woods. Mud coated her beautiful face, although her blue eyes shone through the layers of dirt twinkling in the faint moonlight. Her blonde hair was dirty and stuck to her face, so she could barely see, yet she carried on regardless. She needed to get away from them. You see, there was a monastery that was home to several nuns. Obviously, in the modern day, there were less heavily religious people around, but this one monastery that remained open. The church handpicked incredibly attractive and intelligent girls and asked them to attend the monastery. Emma's parents accepted. They were honored. Emma was not so keen to go, however. She didn't want to leave her school, or her friends, or her boyfriend. Emma left on a drizzly Friday afternoon, a hard, heavy feeling in her gut. She knew she was only going for some special training, but she was still uneasy. She looked down at the stuffed guinea pig her boyfriend had brought her, and decided to name it Turtle. She was still unsure about why she was going. When she arrived at the monastery, after a few hours traveling on side roads, she looked up the tall, ancient building. It was obviously a few hundred years old, probably Gothic in origin, although without studying it further, she couldn't prove anything. The driver of the bus, who hadn't spoke a word all journey, pointed towards the door, got back in the bus, and left. She walked up the door to the monastery and knocked loudly. The knock echoed and bounced off the trees, causing her to jump slightly. It creaked open, and the uneasy feeling came back. The inside was freezing, colder than outside, in fact. There was no electricity, but there were candles, flickering in the draught. Her footsteps echoed on the cold marble floor as she looked around, gobsmacked by the building's beauty. "Come with me." A voice spoke with clear authority, somewhere to her left. She jumped and nearly screamed. There stood a nun, who had clearly not been there before. Emma pondered how she'd got there so quietly. Emma followed the nun down a corridor, her footsteps echoing against the bare walls, candles flickering as they walked past them. Deeper and deeper into the monastery. She noticed that the nun didn't make any noise as she walked. Maybe she was barefoot. She wasn't satisfied with this answer, however, and as she was leaving, no footprints in the dusty floor. Emma noticed it getting warmer as she stepped through into a large room with a huge open fireplace. There were bookshelves piled high with books. Emma turned to see the nun had left, silently. She walked over to one of the bookshelves and lifted a heavy, red book down. The book was covered in weird symbols that she was, for sure, wasn't writing. "Put that down," came an angry, metallic, and gargled voice, sounding like he was talking with a sore throat. At least she assumed it was a he, but when she turned, the same nun as before was stood in the doorway. The voice came again, softer though, more like a woman. "Come with me, dear." As they walked deeper into the monastery, Emma noticed a distinct lack of any sign of life. No other nuns, no other girls, nothing. Suddenly, the candles started to flicker and then die. In a wave, the candles began to go out. Emma started to utter a scream. She felt something hard hit her head. Then, nothing. When Emma came to, she noticed it was a lot warmer. It was also very modern. The room was white, looked like it was made of plaster, definitely not old, like the monastery. She was tied to a chair and gagged. She couldn't move or utter a single sound. However, she did notice the nun stood directly in front of her. Emma's eyes widened in horror as the nun pulled off her robes to reveal a grotesque, alien body. Its skin was brown and leathery, its hands ended in pincers. Its head was huge and bulbous, with glittering black eyes, 3 of them, set directly in the middle of its head. Its mouth opened sideways and grinded and clicked as it spoke, like pads crushing against each other. And it spoke. "You humans, you never really knew." Its voice was croaky and clicky, like a raspy old man. "You never really understood. Even as you evolved, got smarter, learned more, and more about science, you still never understood. We tried, oh, yes, we tried, to stifle your advancements in knowledge. We couldn't control you for much longer. And that's when we realized we needed to take the smartest and most brilliant people to stop them from changing things more. Think about it. When was your last major breakthrough? You humans haven't discovered anything in so long, and we adapted. You think your leaders stand for you? They're nothing but pawns on our board. We see your people struggle, and we offer you a hand. Why? You're like a farm to us. You produce food. We feast on you. You don't even notice. Major wars and battles. You think Adolf Hitler killed 13 million people? No. We played him, and kept those 13 million. But they're running out. And soon we'll need to feed again. We need another major war. And by taking people like you, by controlling you, only then can we finally eat again. Emma had heard enough. She pulled against her restraints and kicked and struggled against her bonds. The alien clicked with laughter, annoyingly. As she lashed out, she budged the table and the alien kicked it. No, not kicked. It didn't have feet. Its legs spread out, levitating. In a final attempt, she broke free and pushed the table right into the thing. She looked around for a door or a way of escape, but found nothing. She grabbed a handle from the table she was tied to and swung it at the alien. It squealed and hit the floor, and she jabbed it over and over again, right between the eyes. It went limp and lifeless as it let out one final click. She looked again for a door. She ran her hand around the wall and found a handle, blended in with the white. She pulled it open and ran to another room. This one was much colder. Back in the monastery. She recoiled in horror at what she saw. Aliens. Loads of them. On beds, around the walls, apparently sleeping. Nun robes and faces hung from the beds. Tubes filled with what looked like blood protruded from the ceilings and floors into the aliens' leathery bellies. She snuck quietly through the room until her shoes banged against the cold, hard floor. The sound of clicking filled the room, and she ran. She ran to the end of the room and out the door into the dark corridor. She slipped a few times, but kept running. Straight through the room with the bookshelves and fireplace, out the entrance, and into the woods. She gulped down fresh air, which felt so good after the musty air of the monastery. She tripped a few times, running through the woods, her beautiful face getting dirty as she splashed in muddy puddles and rings. She was sobbing, choking back tears to keep running. She didn't look back. She couldn't. She ran and then some. Her head smashed a low-hanging branch. That was the last thing she remembered. April 2030. The first female president, Emma Brody, comes into power this month, under a lot of scrutiny because of her gender, although we have yet to see how her leadership will be. June 2031. America is out of debt for the first time in 100 years. Emma is leading the country with a firm hand, showing herself to be a capable leader. The public have affectionately nicknamed her the Brilliant Brody. She shows strong interest in the church, and many people have gone back to being religious. October 2034. Brody leads America into a war with Russia. There's talk of nukes every day.